He's got it stepped down.
Mm-hmm.
Every garden I want, he digs. He says, I'm not doing anymore.
Yeah.
But this is the round part.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Wow.
that I love.
Yeah. Well, the turtles are awesome too. If you want to know what the pros and cons of living in Fort Wayne are, you'll probably see a lot of videos out there, people giving you generic information that you can find from a blog post or Wikipedia, but I'm gonna give you my opinion. I actually did a video not that long ago, as a year ago. My most watched video was the things that I hated about Fort Wayne. And I think people think that I hate Fort Wayne, but I don't. I just made that video. It was mostly a joke. But today I'm going to get into the pros and cons of Fort Wayne, not just from my perspective. I'm going to give you opinions that I've aggregated from the internet of what people have lived here, said, people who have moved here have said. So stay tuned. We'll talk about the pros and cons of living in Fort Wayne 2023 coming up next. Welcome back to our channel, Living in Fort Wayne. My name is Knowedials. That's pronounced Knowe. Dials, I'm a local real estate agent. Me and my wife, Francesca, we help people move to, from, and around Fort Wayne. We actually also picked up another young lady, Rachel Ingalls, who'll be helping us to help people move to Fort Wayne because we've been inundated with calls and people reaching out. And so we want to make sure that we give the best service that we can, especially now that it's the springtime and people are looking for a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, without further ado, let's get into the pros and cons of living in Fort Wayne. Starting off from the top, the number one thing that people talk about in the state of Indiana is the weather. Now, this goes without saying. Obviously, we're further north on the map, but most people want to know what the weather is like in this area. So this one user said that the Midwest has 12 seasons: winter, full spring, second winter, spring of deception, third winter, the pollinating, actual spring, summer, hell's front porch, which currently we're in, false fall, second summer, actual fall. I think that's very funny. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that totally. We're actually not in hell's front porch. If you've ever been to Arizona, I actually was stationed out in Arizona back in 2000 and I don't know, was it 4? I was down in Sierra Vista. I was stationed at Fort Huachuca. That's the hottest place on earth that I've ever been, except for when I was in the military. I used to be stationed in Kuwait. That's actually hell's front porch. We're talking 30 plus days of over 100-degree weather. And I understand it's dry heat, but a lot of people say there's a difference between dry heat and humidity. But again, I grew up in South Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina. I was born in Miami, Florida. That's real humidity. So the humidity here in Indiana is much less than Savannah and the Southeast. A lot of people kind of compare the humidity and it's somewhat sticky, but I think it's the length of time. So when we're talking about when it is summertime and there is humidity, it doesn't last for that long. I think that's the difference. On the days that we do have humidity, it doesn't last for that long. And I'll tell you something else. Gnats, for example. Again, I grew up down south. You could see the swarm of gnats coming from the swamp or any little puddle of water with the gnats just hanging around here. Since I've been in Fort Wayne, you see gnats for like a month. What makes the winter time not so great is the overcast layer. So the 6 months that is the fall and the winter time, during that period of time, there is no sunshine. There's very little sunshine. So that makes it very gloomy. And it kind of makes, it's like melancholy, right? It's just like super sad. You just don't feel great during that time of year. And I think it's more so not necessarily because the temperatures are so low. It's the overcast and it's how long that we're in the range of 30 degrees. That's what makes the weather a bit annoying. It's not because of the low temperatures or because of the snow. The fall and winter time, and this is something, being a real estate agent, which is actually unique that I noticed about Fort Wayne than any other place, is that you very rarely see homes separated by fences up here. I actually did a video about a week ago. You guys can see it, where this lady is just taking me through her backyard and she's showing me all the different yards and stuff in her backyard. She's planting all these things, but there are hardly no fences. And if a fence does exist, it's because the homeowner put it there. But I think that has to do with the weather because it's so cold. It's about 6 months out of the year, it's below 30 or below. So people don't keep their pets outside. So maybe for the other half of the year, they don't feel like it's necessary to have a fence. I know down south, especially in Texas, having a fence is mandatory because it's hot for like 9 months out of the year, you just put your dogs outside, let them run around under the tree. It's not that big of a deal. So full spring, I must say full spring is going to come around about the end of March, beginning of April. We're going to have like a day or two in the 70s. You're going to put on shorts, and no, they're tricking you. So that's also true. So this one user talks about the music scene. Honestly, I love it here. I'm really into local music scene, which is very, very strong. Name your music taste, and there's a sizable list of local bands playing weekly for you to enjoy. It's cheap. It's a mid-sized town around and under 3 hours from Indianapolis, Chicago, Detroit, Cleveland. A lot of people will argue it's boring. And to that, I argue they haven't tried hard enough. There's a scene for just about anything, but my personal favorite besides music scene is nature. There's a ton of parks in just about the whole city is connected via bike trail. I used to live in the Southwest area, and we would bike all the way downtown and back without ever hitting main road. There's a ton of nature preserves in the area and state. You'd be shocked at how beautiful the Midwest can be. Overall, we are a rapidly growing and budding city. I personally feel is a good fit for most lifestyles. We can accommodate just about anybody. Okay, so this particular comment, they touched on a couple of things. First, starting off with the local music scene. I think it's hard to compare when we used to live in Texas. So we lived, near Austin. So South by Southwest was there. I mean, local artists in Austin. I mean, there's really no comparison. So for me, when I think about that, that's the first thing that comes to my mind. I think of Austin. So Fort Wayne is way off from that, but Austin's like at the peak. I take that back. You have Nashville, then Austin for like live music and grassroots type of music of just people up and coming. Fort Wayne, I'm not even sure if they're on the list. You have South by Southwest. They have a whole music festival in Austin because the music scene it thrives so much. I don't necessarily think Fort Wayne is on that level. So I do disagree with that particular comment. But they do have local bands here.
I set my mind on wandering, I want a broken mind. You have a mind to keep me quiet, no, no, you can try. And I dream about you all the time. I'm here without you, baby, but you're still with me in my dreams. And tonight, girl, it's only you and me.
Here is, I can confirm that the trail system here is phenomenal. Actually, I just bought some rollerblades, and I'm breaking them in right now for this year because I'm getting a little bit older. And while I still have the activity of my limbs, I want to get my rollerblade skills back together. So this year you'll see me on the trails running through the city. So Puffer Belly Trail, you have the trail system, which is very, very positive. I also agree with when he says, or him or her says, there are things to do here. I think that when most people think about things to do, they're thinking about if they can just look out the window and see a famous celebrity, driving down the road saying, hey, we're doing a concert tonight, on a corner of Calhoun and Lafayette or something like that. If you look hard enough down there at the Embassy Theater, there's pretty good acts coming down there. We just saw Elevation Church down at Coliseum. They just came here. So we get enough of the big name people. It's not like we're so small that you won't get big name shows, concert from comedians to live music from famous people. So you get all of that. You don't get professional sports, but also too, I think the thing that you won't find is if you're a younger person and you're looking for like a night scene. The night scene is what is the biggest downside if you're talking about things to do. The night scene here is pretty much non-existent compared to pretty much everywhere, in my opinion. Like I've lived in places, military towns, university, college towns and stuff like that. So if you're comparing it to a major city, a college town or a military town, I mean, so I would say Fort Wayne, it ranks, if you take all three of those types of city off the table, then, then Fort Wayne's night scene is pretty good. But a college town, they can't match a college town. That's impossible. They can't match a military town. That's impossible. I've lived in plenty of those. And then I lived outside of Dallas for a long period of time. So I think that's the thing that people kind of, when they say there isn't something to do. It depends on your lifestyle. It depends on what you like to do. Like if you're outdoors, more of a family oriented person, farmers market, the young leaders of Northeast Indiana, that kind of thing. Well, then there's a ton of things to do. I do believe there are things to do. You do have to dig. You do have to pay attention because you'll miss stuff all the time in that regard. So Fort Wayne is awesome, especially for people that are, midlife, older with kids and stuff like that. I mean, there's no question about that. And the last thing I'll touch on, because, this video is getting long and I don't want to hammer you too much on ridiculous stuff. But so this particular person said, why do most of the chain restaurants here suck so much? The IHOPs, the Steak and Shakes, the Burger Kings, and the Wendy's are all the worst here than other cities I've been to. The Steak and Shakes in particular have been laughably awful. The cold fries and half-hour waits and drive-through, though while the parking lot was mostly empty, there is no line at the window. Okay, so I do concur here. The fast food restaurants are not the best. And I'm not exactly sure why. The Steak and Shakes in particular, of the three that he listed, the IHOPs, the IHOP has been fine. But the Steak and Shakes here, I don't know if anyone's care. I remember going to the Steak and Shake and it's always the same, right? The parking lot is empty. And I know they make it to order. So as soon as you order it, but there really is the people that work there, for some reason, it's just not great. He talked about the Wendy's. Now, I must disagree with you because Wendy's is one of my favorite fast food places. If I was going to go to a fast food place, I would say Whataburger is number one, but there's no Whataburger here. And then Wendy's is number two. The Wendy's off of DuPont, on the corner of DuPont and Coldwater, is the best Wendy's in the city. Like, they've never disappointed me. They do good customer service. The customer service is great, and the food is good. It's exactly what I expect. The rest of the Wendy's, I can't say that they're bad, but I can see where that person would make that comment. But here's the second thing. There are other restaurants here, such as a Culver's. There's a restaurant called Culver's. So if you're not from Fort Wayne, they have this restaurant called Culver's. It's a blue and white restaurant. I really don't know anything about them. I've lived in many different states. This is the first time I've ever seen one. I'm not a fan of Culver's, but people in Indiana love Culver's. So much to the point that I'm pretty sure there's going to be someone who comments below how much of a jerk I am because I said I don't like Culver's, but I really don't. They also have places like Zesto's. They had a Zesto's in South Carolina when I was growing up, and I stopped eating there when they created Sonic's. After they came with a Sonic, I was like, well, I can get everything that I get from a Zesto's plus a root cherry limeade slush. But they don't have a Sonic's here in the whole city of Fort Wayne. So I don't necessarily, it's a pro and a con. It's mostly a con, honestly, when it comes down to fast food restaurants, because I believe there should be more fast food restaurants than I'm used to seeing in other cities. Like, there should be more chicken strip places. And don't judge me by looking at me when I say I want more chicken strip places, because honestly, what are our options? You can go to, you got Chick-fil-A, and then you got Popeyes. There's 2 Popeyes in the whole city. I'm not exactly sure where else will you get chicken strips. In the state of Texas, you've got Bush's Chicken, you've got Golden Chick, you've got Chicken Express, you've got Slim Chickens, there's a Zaxby's, and you got Raising Cane's. I mean, I just named 5 places where they sell nothing but chicken strips. On the whole menu, there's nothing else but chicken strips. Or you might get chicken strips in a salad. So I'm just using that as an example. As Fort Wayne, of a city of this size, is 260,000 people. We moved from Lubbock, also has about 280, maybe 290,000 people now. So it's comparatively the same size, but what they offer for fast food is drastically different. And so I'm really not so sure about that. But this was my video on pros and cons. I know I went all over the place. We talked about the winter and, the false spring and how long, and the weather and the temperatures like that. Restaurants, people are going to go back and forth about restaurants. That's all about taste. That's all about what you like. So for me, we were talking about fast food restaurants, and let's be honest here. If you're eating in a fast food restaurant, it's like gambling. It's Russian roulette. Go at your own peril. We believe in supporting local. We haven't done a video on that. We probably never will. But if you ever ask me, send me a message, me or Francesca, and we'll tell you, hey, this is our favorite restaurants. These are the places that we like to eat at. But yeah, fast food restaurants, probably shouldn't waste our time talking about them that much. There are some fast food restaurants that, you know, go over and beyond, but for the most part, it's fast food, right? And then lastly, we talked about the music. We talked about music location. That's not a big deal. And obviously, because you listen to music personally in your car. Actually, as I got older, I don't listen to as much music as I used to anyway, because, you know, I'm just too busy listening to podcasts. I listen to Ed Milet. I listen to Bigger Pockets. I like to listen to Bill Simmons, right? Like, so I really don't have that much time to listen to music anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. We don't go out to live concerts that much anyway. We did go to Elevation Church. They came here not that long ago. And so that's that. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video on the pros and cons. Check out the last video with Rachel. She did she went the most walkable neighborhoods, which was Francis Solcombe, and then she went down to West Central, which is one of the most popular neighborhoods in Fort Wayne. Check that video out, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.